The sky changed on a Tuesday morning. Captain David Cole was drinking his coffee on the deck of the USS Defiance when the first reports came through his radio. He looked up and saw something that made his cup fall from his hand. The blue sky was turning dark. Not from clouds, not from smoke. Something else was blocking the sun. 7,000 ships appeared beyond the moon. They came out of nowhere, like ghosts stepping through a door. Each ship was bigger than anything humans had ever built. The smallest ones were the size of football stadiums. The largest ones could have swallowed entire cities. David had served in the Navy for 20 years. He had seen storms that could kill a man. He had faced enemies who wanted him dead. But he had never felt fear like this. This was not a war between countries. This was something much worse. Across the world, people stopped what they were doing and looked at the sky. In New York, traffic came to a complete stop. In Tokyo, millions of people stood in the streets with their phones pointed upward. In London, children asked their parents why the sun was going away. Admiral Lisa Hayes received the first alien transmission at NORAD, deep inside a mountain in Colorado. The voice was cold and mechanical, translated into perfect English by technology humans could not understand. "Primitive species of Sol 3, the voice said. "You have 6 standard rotations to surrender your world. Your planet will become property of Valorian Dominion. Your people will serve the Dominion. Resistance will result in extinction. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." Lisa played the message 3 times. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady when she picked up the phone to call the president. The United Nations held an emergency meeting within hours. World leaders argued and shouted at each other. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to launch nuclear weapons at the alien fleet. A few simply sat in silence, unable to process what was happening. The Valorian Dominion was not unknown to certain people on Earth for the past 15 years. A secret program had been listening to signals from deep space. They had learned about the Dominion. They had learned about the 43 civilizations that the Dominion had conquered. They had learned that Earth was next on the list. But they had also been preparing in a classified bunker beneath the Nevada desert. Dr. Emily Ward watched the chaos unfold on multiple screens. She was 38 years old, with tired eyes and messy brown hair. She had not slept properly in 3 years. She had been working on something that most people would call impossible. Her project was called Prometheus. Emily picked up her secure phone and called the president directly. It took her 5 minutes to get through the chaos, but when the president finally answered, she spoke clearly. "Sir, this is Dr. Emily Ward from Site 7. I need you to listen carefully. We have something that can stop them." The president was a man named Michael Torres. He was 60 years old and had served his country for most of his life. He had faced many crises, but nothing had prepared him for this. "Dr. Ward, we have 7,000 alien warships in orbit. Our military experts say we have no chance. What could you possibly have?" Emily took a deep breath. Something they have never seen before. Something they cannot understand. "Sir, they think we are primitive. They think we have nothing. They are wrong." Meanwhile, on the Valorian flagship called the Eternal Conquest, Fleet Commander Thal stood before a massive display screen showing Earth. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 eyes that glowed faintly in the dark. He had conquered 11 worlds in his career. Earth would be his 12th. His second in command, a younger officer named Vex, presented the assessment report. The dominant species uses primitive combustion engines for transportation. They have basic nuclear capability, but have not developed it beyond simple weapons. They have no faster-than-light travel, no energy shields, no plasma weapons. Their most advanced military vessels are floating metal boxes that move on water. Thal made a sound that might have been a laugh. This will not even be a battle. It will be a collection. Shall I begin planning the occupation, Commander? Yes, and tell the crew they may begin recreational planning. We will be finished here within 10 rotations. Then we move to the next system. Thal had no idea that he was making the biggest mistake of his life. Back on Earth, David Cole received orders to bring the USS Defiance back to port immediately. As his ship turned toward home, he looked at the dark shapes in the sky and felt something strange mixing with his fear. It was anger. These things, whatever they were, had come to his world. They had threatened his people. They had called humanity primitive. David had grown up hearing stories about how humans had survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. Humans were not easy to kill. Humans did not give up. In the Nevada bunker, Emily Ward gathered her team of 12 scientists. They had been working in secret for years, and now their work would finally matter. The Valorians use quantum-based shield technology, she explained to President Torres over a video call. Every civilization they have conquered used similar technology. They expect us to have nothing like it. But we found something different. Something they never discovered because they stopped looking. What did you find? The president asked. Emily smiled for the first time in months. We found a way to break the rules. Their shields work by predicting energy patterns. But quantum uncertainty means some things cannot be predicted. We built weapons that exist in multiple states at once. Their shields literally cannot block something that might not be there. The president was quiet for a moment. Will it work? It has to, Emily said. Because if it does not, we are all dead anyway. The countdown began. 6 days until the Valorian deadline. 6 days to prepare for a war that no one believed humanity could win. 6 days to prove that the universe had made a terrible mistake in choosing Earth as its next victim. And in those 6 days, humanity would show the stars what it truly meant to fight. David Cole stood on the deck of his ship as night fell. The alien fleet was visible now. Tiny points of light clustered near the moon. He thought about his daughter, who was only 7 years old. He thought about the world she would grow up in. Not today, he whispered to the stars. You do not get to take our world today. He did not know it yet, but he was speaking for all of humanity. The Valorians did not wait for the deadline. On the 4th day, they sent their first invasion wave. 300 landing craft dropped from the orbiting fleet and fell toward Earth like burning stars. Each craft carried 500 soldiers. Each soldier had conquered worlds before. They expected chaos. They expected primitive humans running through the streets, screaming in terror. They expected an easy victory. They were very, very wrong. The first landing craft touched down in Los Angeles. The massive ship crushed several buildings as it landed in what used to be a shopping district. Steam rose from its hull as the doors began to open. Sergeant Mike Torres watched from the ruins of a parking structure 3 blocks away. He was 42 years old, a Marine for 20 of those years. He had fought in 3 wars, but he had never felt this calm before a battle. The weapon in his hands did not look special. It was black and simple, about the size of a regular rifle. But it was not regular. Dr. Emily Ward had called it a phase disruptor. Mike did not understand the science. He only understood that it would kill aliens. Hold, he whispered into his radio. Let them come out. Let them feel safe. The Valorian soldiers marched out of their landing craft in perfect formation. They were tall and thin, wearing silver armor that glowed with energy shields. They carried weapons that looked like long staffs with glowing tips. Their 4 eyes scanned the empty streets with contempt. The commander of the landing force spoke through a translator. Spread out. Secure the area. Kill any humans who resist. Capture the rest for processing. The soldiers moved forward with confidence. They had done this 43 times on 43 different worlds. The script was always the same. Primitives would hide, then surrender. Then Serv. Mike Torres let them walk exactly 100 meters from their ship. Then he gave the order. Light them up. 1,000 Marines opened fire from hidden positions all around the landing zone. The phase disruptors made no sound. They fired beams of light that seemed to flicker and dance, existing and not existing at the same time. The Valorian shields did nothing. The beams passed through them like they were not there. Alien soldiers fell by the dozens, then by the hundreds. The silver armor that had protected them on 43 worlds offered no protection here. The Valorian commander tried to return fire. His plasma staff sent a bolt of green energy toward a Marine position. But something strange happened. The bolt curved away from its target and hit empty ground. In the Nevada bunker. Emily Ward watched through satellite feed and smiled. Prometheus was working. The planetary shield was not just blocking attacks. It was bending them away from human targets. The Battle of Los Angeles lasted 47 minutes. When it was over, every Valorian soldier from that landing craft was dead. Not captured. Not wounded. Dead. Marine losses. 0. Across the globe, the same story repeated itself. In Tokyo, Colonel Tom Harris had turned the streets into a maze of death. Alien soldiers walked into ambush after ambush. Their superior technology meant nothing when their shields did not work and their weapons could not hit their targets. In London, Commander Rachel Foster did something even more impressive. Her team did not just kill the invaders. They captured an entire landing craft intact. The Valorian pilot surrendered when he realized his ship could not take off and his weapons could not fire. Impossible, he kept saying through his translator. This is impossible. Rachel looked at him with cold eyes. Get used to saying that word. You're going to be saying it a lot. On the Eternal Conquest, Fleet Commander Thal received the reports from the surface. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly as he read the numbers. 40,000 soldiers lost in 6 hours. 0 objectives achieved. 0 human casualties confirmed. This data must be wrong, he said to his officers. Run the calculations again. We have run them 7 times, Commander. The data is accurate. Thal stood before the main display screen, watching footage from the battles. He saw his soldiers falling. He saw their shields failing. He saw weapons that should not exist tearing through armor that had never been broken before. How? He whispered. They have no space travel. They have no advanced technology. How are they doing this? No one had an answer. Thal made a decision. If ground forces could not conquer Earth, then he would destroy it from orbit. He gave the order to activate the fleet's orbital cannons. 100 ships moved into position, their massive weapons pointing at major cities across the planet. If we cannot have this world, Thal said, then no one will. The orbital cannons fired. Beams of pure energy, each one powerful enough to vaporize a mountain, lanced down toward Earth. They targeted New York, London, Tokyo, Beijing, Moscow, and a dozen other cities. Billions of lives were about to end. And then the beams bent. They curved around the planet like water flowing around a rock. They hit nothing but empty ocean and bare ground. The cities remained untouched. In her bunker, Emily Ward let out a breath she did not know she was holding. Prometheus was not just a weapon. It was a shield that covered the entire Earth. Energy attacks could not penetrate it. They could not even get close. Full power confirmed, one of her scientists reported. The shield is stable. We can maintain it indefinitely. President Torres called her immediately. Dr. Ward, what just happened? Their weapons just missed. They did not miss, sir. We bent them. Their energy weapons follow predictable quantum patterns. We created a field that redirects those patterns away from populated areas. They cannot hit us with beam weapons. Not anymore. For the first time since the invasion began, the president laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was the laugh of a man who had just realized that humanity might actually survive. What else can you do? He asked. Emily looked at her team. They were exhausted, running on coffee and determination. But they were also smiling. Give us time, she said. We are just getting started. On the Eternal Conquest, Fleet Commander Thal stared at the display screen in disbelief. His orbital bombardment had failed. His ground invasion had failed. For the first time in his career, he did not know what to do next. His second command, Vex, spoke quietly. Commander, perhaps we should request reinforcements from the Dominion. This species is unexpected. Thal turned to face him, fury in his 4 eyes. We have 7,000 warships. 7,000. We have conquered civilizations with fleets 1/10 this size. We do not need reinforcements. We need better tactics. But deep down, in a part of his mind that he did not want to acknowledge, Thal was beginning to feel something he had never felt before. Something that the Valorian Dominion had made other species feel for 10,000 years. He was beginning to feel afraid. On Earth, humanity celebrated its first victory. People danced in the streets of cities that should have been destroyed. Soldiers who had faced impossible odds hugged each other and wept with relief. But Emily Ward did not celebrate. She was already working on the next phase. Prometheus could protect Earth, but protection was not enough. She pulled up designs on her computer screen. Project Ares, ships that could carry the fight to the enemy. Weapons that could destroy their fleet. They came to conquer us, she said to her team. They're going to learn that was a mistake. The war was just beginning. 2 months passed since the first invasion attempt. The Valorian fleet remained in orbit, but they had stopped attacking. They were waiting, watching, trying to understand what had gone wrong. Fleet Commander Thal spent every day studying the humans. He watched their broadcasts. He analyzed their history. He tried to find their weakness. But the more he learned, the more confused he became. These creatures had spent most of their history fighting each other. They had wars over land, over religion, over ideas. They had weapons that could destroy their own planet. They were chaotic, unpredictable, and completely illogical. And somehow, they were winning. Meanwhile, in a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, humanity was building something new. Captain James Wright stood in a massive hangar, looking up at the first human warship designed for space combat. It was called the Retribution, and it was beautiful. The ship was not large by Valorian standards. It was only 200 meters long, shaped like a blade. Its hull was black, covered in panels that absorbed radar and light. Its engines glowed with a soft blue light that came from technology humans had not possessed 2 years ago. "She is ready, Captain," said Lieutenant Amy Parker, standing beside him. She was 29 years old, a pilot who had broken every speed record in the Air Force. Now she was going to fly in space. James nodded slowly. "How many ships do we have?" 12. The Retribution, the Justice, the Fury, and 9 others. Not much against 7,000. We do not need to beat 7,000. We just need to make them scared. The first human space battle happened 3 days later. James led his squadron of 12 ships out of Earth's atmosphere and headed toward a Valorian patrol group. 200 enemy destroyers were conducting surveillance near the moon. The Valorians detected the human ships immediately. Their commander, a veteran named Lord Krath, looked at the tactical display and laughed. 12 ships? They send 12 ships against 200? These creatures truly are insane. He gave the order to destroy the human squadron. 200 destroyers turned their weapons toward the approaching ships. Plasma cannons charged. Missile bays opened. It should have been over in seconds, but the human ships were not there anymore. James had activated what Emily Ward called the phase drive. The human ships flickered and vanished, reappearing in a completely different position. The Valorian weapons hit empty space. What happened? Lord Krath demanded. Where did they go? Unknown, sir. Our sensors cannot track them. They appear and disappear without pattern. James smiled inside his cockpit. The phase drive worked exactly as Emily had promised. The human ships could jump short distances instantly, appearing wherever they wanted. The Valorians could not predict their movements because there was nothing to predict. The jumps were random even to the humans themselves. All ships, James said into his radio. Engage at will. Make them bleed. The 12 human ships attacked like wolves among sheep. They appeared from nowhere, fired their phase disruptors, and vanished before the Valorians could respond. Destroyer after destroyer exploded, their shield useless against weapons that ignored the laws of physics. Lieutenant Amy Parker flew her fighter like it was part of her body. She had destroyed 4 enemy ships when a Valorian missile finally got lucky. It struck her ship's engine, sending her spinning out of control toward a Valorian carrier. Any other pilot would have ejected. Any other pilot would have accepted that their fight was over. But Amy was not any other pilot. She aimed her crippled ship directly at the carrier's engine core. At the last possible second, she activated her ejection seat and launched herself into space. Her ship hit the carrier's engines and exploded. The carrier broke apart in a massive fireball. 2,000 Valorian soldiers died instantly. Amy floated in space, watching the destruction she had caused. Her suit had 3 hours of oxygen. She hoped someone would find her before then. They did. A rescue shuttle from the Retribution picked her up 40 minutes later. When she climbed aboard, the other pilots looked at her with something close to worship. "You are insane," James said over the radio. "You know that, right?" Amy laughed. It hurt to laugh because she had broken 2 ribs in the ejection. But she laughed anyway. Did it work? The carrier is gone. And so are 11 destroyers. Total human losses, 1 damaged fighter and 0 deaths. The Battle of Luna, as it came to be called, changed everything. Video of Amy's attack spread across Earth within hours. People watched a single human pilot destroy a ship carrying 2,000 enemies. They watched her survive the impossible. Humanity had found its first space hero on the Eternal Conquest. Fleet Commander Thal received the battle report in silence. 11 destroyers lost. 1 carrier destroyed. The human losses were insignificant. Their 12 ships had returned to Earth without a single casualty. His officers waited for him to speak. When he finally did, his voice was quiet. They cannot be tracked. They cannot be hit. They destroy our ships, and we cannot even see them coming. Vex stepped forward carefully. "Commander, perhaps it is time to consider alternative strategies." "What alternatives?" "We have tried ground invasion. We have tried orbital bombardment. We have tried direct engagement. Nothing works. We could send a message to the Dominion. Request guidance. Request reinforcements." Thal turned to face him. For a moment, Vex thought the commander was going to kill him for suggesting weakness. But instead, Thal simply nodded. "Send the message. Tell them everything. Tell them these humans are not like anything we have faced before." The message traveled across the galaxy at faster than light speeds. It would reach the Dominion homeworld in 3 months. Until then, the fleet was on its own. But Thal made one more decision that night. He ordered the fleet to pull back to a defensive position behind the moon. No more offensive operations. No more attacks. For the first time in Valorian history, A Dominion fleet was hiding from a species they had come to conquer on Earth. Dr. Emily Ward received news of the Valorian retreat with mixed feelings. They had won another victory, yes, but she knew this was not over. The Dominion was vast. If reinforcements came, they might not be so easy to defeat. We need to build more ships, she told President Torres. Many more. And we need to be ready to take the fight to them before their backup arrives. How many ships? Emily pulled up her calculations. 100 minimum. We have the resources. We have the technology. We just need time. How much time? 3 months. President Torres was quiet for a long moment. The same time it will take their message to reach the Dominion. Yes. Then we had better not waste a single day. The factories began working around the clock. Every nation on Earth contributed resources. Enemies who had hated each other for generations now worked side by side. The alien invasion had done something that nothing else could have done. It had united humanity. And humanity was preparing for war. 4 months had passed since the aliens first appeared in Earth's sky. The Valorian fleet had lost 2,000 ships. They had not gained a single meter of ground. And now, something had changed in the way they communicated. Fleet Commander Thole was dead. His own officers had executed him for his failures. The new commander was Admiral Keth, a female Valorian who had conquered 15 worlds before being assigned to this disaster. She had reviewed all the battle reports. She had studied the human tactics, and she had come to a conclusion that no Valorian had ever reached before. They could not win this war. The request for negotiation came on a Tuesday morning. Admiral Keth sent a message directly to the United Nations, asking for permission to speak with Earth's leaders. She promised peaceful intentions. She offered to end the war. President Torres agreed to meet her, not because he trusted her, but because he wanted to see the enemy face to face. The meeting took place on the steps of the rebuilt White House. Admiral Keth descended from a small shuttle, accompanied by 2 guards. She was tall, even for a Valorian standing nearly 7 feet. Her gray skin was marked with patterns that showed her rank. Her 4 eyes studied everything around her with careful attention. President Torres stood waiting with General Robert Drake and several other officials. Secret Service agents surrounded the area, though everyone knew they would be useless if the aliens decided to attack. Admiral Keth walked forward and stopped 10 feet from the Comstas. President. Her translator device hummed softly as she began to speak. I am Admiral Keth of the Valorian Dominion. I have come to discuss the end of hostilities between our peoples. President Torres nodded slowly. I am President Torres of the United States. I speak for the United Nations and for all of humanity. What do you propose? We will withdraw our fleet from your solar system. We will mark Earth as protected territory. No Valorian ship will ever return here. In exchange, you will allow us to leave peacefully. General Drake stepped forward, his arms crossed. He was 60 years old, with gray hair and a face that had seen too many wars. You came here to enslave us. You killed 3 million people in your first attack. And now you want mercy? Admiral Keth's translator struggled to process the tone of his voice. We are willing to pay reparations, resources, technology, whatever you require. There is not enough treasure in your entire dominion to pay for what you have done, the president said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. You do not understand what has happened here. You do not understand what you have started. Then explain it to me. President Torres took a step closer. He was shorter than the alien, but somehow he seemed larger. For 100 years, humanity has been fighting itself. Nation against nation. Brother against brother. We wasted our potential on pointless conflicts. But you came here and gave us something we never had before. A common enemy. a reason to unite. Do you know what happens when humanity has a purpose? Admiral Keth said nothing. We become unstoppable. General Drake pulled out a tablet and showed it to the Admiral. The screen displayed satellite images of factories across the globe. Ships being built. Weapons being manufactured. An army being assembled. You have 3,000 ships left, Drake said. In 2 weeks, we will have 100 warships of our own. In a month, we will have 300. We are not going to let you leave. We are going to destroy every ship in your fleet. And then we are going to find your dominion and tear it apart. Admiral Keth's 4 eyes widened. For the first time in her life, she understood what fear truly felt like. You cannot be serious. The Dominion spans 1,000 star systems. We have millions of ships. Then it will take us a while, President Torres said. But we have time. And we have something your Dominion never expected to face. We have anger. He leaned closer, and when he spoke again, his voice was barely above a whisper. You should have left us alone. Admiral Keth returned to her shuttle in silence. Her guards looked at each other nervously. They had never seen their commander look so shaken as the shuttle rose into the sky. Keth opened the communication channel to the Eternal Conquest. All ships, prepare for battle. The humans will not negotiate. They intend to destroy us completely. Should we attack first? Her second-in-command asked. No, we should try to run. But it was too late for that night. Project Ares launched. 100 human warships rose from hidden bases across the planet. They were crewed by volunteers who had trained for months. They knew that many of them would not survive. They did not care. Captain David Cole stood on the bridge of the Defiance, now upgraded with phase drive and weapons that made the original ship look like a toy. His crew of 500 had become a family during the long months of preparation. They were ready to fight. They were ready to die. He opened a channel to all ships in the fleet. This is Captain Cole. You all know why we are here. 4 months ago, those things came to our world and told us to surrender. They called us primitive. They thought we would be easy. They were wrong. He paused, looking at the faces of his crew. They were scared. He was scared too. But fear did not matter now. Only the mission mattered. Tonight, we take the fight to them. Tonight, we show them what humanity can do when we are pushed. Tonight, we make them pay for every life they took. He switched the channel to include the entire fleet. All ships, this is the Defiance. No prisoners. No retreat. For Earth. The response came back from 100 ships, 100 crews. 10,000 voices speaking as one. For Earth. The second battle of Sol began. The human fleet engaged the Valorians near the moon. Phase drives flickered as ships appeared and disappeared across the battlefield. The Valorians tried to form defensive positions, but they could not defend against enemies who attacked from everywhere at once. Admiral Keth watched the battle from her flagship and felt despair. 200 ships lost in the first hour, 300 in the second. Her fleet was dying, and she could do nothing to stop it. She gave one final order. All ships, break formation. Try to escape the system. Scatter in every direction. Some of us might survive to warn the Dominion. It was a coward's order. But Admiral Keth did not care about honor anymore. She cared about survival. She did not survive. Captain Cole saw the flagship trying to run and made a decision. He pushed the Defiance's engines to maximum power and chased. The alien ship was faster, but Cole was not trying to catch it. He was trying to crash into it. All hands, abandon ship, he announced. Get to the escape pods, now. His crew hesitated for only a moment before obeying. They knew their captain. They knew he would not change his mind. Cole stayed at the helm as his crew evacuated. He watched the flagship grow larger in his view screen. He thought about his daughter back on Earth, He hoped she would understand. For Earth, he whispered. The Defiance hit the Eternal Conquest at full speed. Both ships exploded in a flash of light that could be seen from Earth. Admiral Keth died without even knowing what had hit her. Captain David Cole died a hero, but the battle was not over. It would continue for 3 more days. And when it finally ended, not a single Valorian ship remained. 7,000 warships. Gone. Humanity had won. The battle lasted 72 hours. When it finally ended, the space around Earth's moon was filled with debris. Pieces of 7,000 alien warships floated in the darkness, slowly spreading into a ring that would circle the planet for centuries. On Earth, people stood in the streets and watched the sky. They saw flashes of light near the moon as the last enemy ships were destroyed. They heard the announcements from the government. They knew, somehow, that the impossible had happened. Humanity had survived. Dr. Emily Ward stood in the Prometheus Control Center, watching the final enemy signals disappear from her screens. Her team was silent around her. They were exhausted, running on nothing but coffee and willpower. But they had done it. Their technology had worked. Their weapons had protected their world. General Drake walked into the control center an hour later. His uniform was wrinkled, and his eyes were red from lack of sleep. He had been coordinating the battle from the moment it began. He had watched ships die. He had watched heroes sacrifice themselves. "It is over," he said quietly. Emily nodded. "The fleet is gone. All 7,000 ships. Our losses? 37 ships destroyed. 8,000 crew members dead, including Captain Cole." Drake closed his eyes for a moment. David Cole had been his friend for 20 years. They had served together, fought together, survived together. And now David was gone, along with thousands of other brave men and women. "He saved us," Drake said finally. "They all did." Emily turned back to her screens. There was still work to do. The victory today was just the beginning. She pulled up a star map showing the Valorian Dominion stretching across hundreds of star systems. Billions of beings living under alien rule. 43 civilizations that had been conquered, enslaved, and broken. "They have families," Emily said. "Those soldiers we killed. Somewhere out there, the Dominion is going to learn what happened. They are going to send more fleets. Bigger ones. Stronger ones." Drake nodded slowly. "Then we will destroy those too. Or we could go to them first." Drake looked at her sharply. "What do you mean?" Emily zoomed out the map, showing the full extent of the Dominion's territory. "We could wait for them to come back. Build defenses. Prepare for another invasion. But what does that accomplish? We would spend forever just defending ourselves. What is the alternative? We go to them. We take the fight to their space. We find those 43 worlds they conquered, and we set them free." Drake was quiet for a long time. It was an insane idea. Humanity had barely survived one invasion. Now Emily was suggesting they invade the invaders? With what army? With what resources? But then he thought about what humanity had accomplished in the past 4 months. They had built a planetary shield from nothing. They had created weapons that broke the laws of physics. They had united the entire planet against a common enemy. If they could do all that in 4 months, what could they do in a year? In 10 years? "It would take everything we have," Drake said finally. "Yes, people would die. Lots of people. Yes, we might not win." Emily smiled sadly. "We might not. But those 43 civilizations are counting on someone to save them. They have no hope left. We can give them hope." Drake thought about David Cole, ramming his ship into the enemy flagship. He thought about Annie Parker, crashing her fighter into a carrier and surviving. He thought about all the people who had volunteered to fight, knowing they would probably die. Humanity did not give up. Humanity did not surrender, and humanity did not abandon others who needed help. "I will talk to the president," he said. 6 months later, the United Earth Fleet departed from the solar system. 300 warships, crewed by 50,000 volunteers. They carried weapons that no other species had ever seen. They carried technology that broke every rule the galaxy had ever known. And they carried hope. Captain Amy Parker stood on the bridge of the Defiance II, the newest and most powerful ship in the fleet. She had been promoted after her legendary survival during the Battle of Luna. She had earned the respect of every soldier in the fleet. Now she was leading them into the unknown. Her first officer, Commander Tom Harris, stood beside her. He had transferred from ground forces after the war ended. He wanted to see the stars. He wanted to continue the fight. "All ships report ready," he said. "Phase drives charged." "We are waiting for your order, Captain." Amy looked out the view screen at the fleet assembled around her. 300 ships, each one carrying the hopes and dreams of Earth. Behind them, the planet that had given birth to humanity glowed blue and green. Against the darkness of space, she thought about the people who had died to give them this chance. David Cole, 8,000 others. They had sacrificed everything so that humanity could survive. Now it was her turn to honor their sacrifice. She opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Captain Parker of the Defiance II. 4 months ago, the Valorian Dominion came to our world. They thought we would surrender. They thought we would be easy. They thought wrong." She paused, letting her words sink in. "They surrounded Earth with war fleets. 7,000 ships filled our sky. They gave us 6 days to surrender our freedom, our families, our future. They expected us to bow." Her voice grew stronger. "None of those ships ever returned. Not one. 7,000 warships, destroyed by a species they called primitive. That is what humanity does when you threaten our home. That is what we do when you push us into a corner. We do not surrender. We do not give up. We fight." She looked at the star map on her console. The Valorian Dominion stretched across the galaxy. 43 worlds under their control. Billions of beings living in chains. But not for much longer. The Dominion thinks they are safe. They think we will stay on our little planet and wait for them to come back. They are wrong. We are coming for them. We are going to find every world they have conquered, and we are going to set those people free. We are going to show the galaxy that empires fall when they choose the wrong enemy." She took a deep breath. "Today, we leave our home behind. Today, we become something new. Not just defenders of Earth, but liberators of the galaxy. The Dominion has 10,000 years of conquest behind them. We have 4 months of war. But we have something they do not have. We have the will to fight until our last breath. We have the courage to face impossible odds. And we have each other." She smiled, thinking of all the people who had believed in this mission. Emily Ward, General Drake, President Torres. All the soldiers and scientists and ordinary people who had refused to give up. "For Earth," she said. "For the fallen. And for everyone who has ever looked at the stars and wondered if they were alone." She gave the order. "All ships, engage phase drive. Jump in 3, 2, 1, mark." 300 ships vanished from Earth's orbit. They reappeared light years away, at the edge of Valorian space. The first step in a journey that would change the galaxy forever. Back on Earth, Dr. Emily Ward watched the fleet disappear. She stood alone in the Prometheus Control Center, surrounded by screens showing empty space where the ships had been. Her work was done. Now it was up to the soldiers to finish what they had started. She thought about the message they were carrying to the stars. A message of hope for the oppressed. A message of fear for the oppressors. A simple message that would echo across the galaxy for centuries to come. They surrounded Earth with war. Fleets, none of them ever returned. And now humanity was coming for the rest. This was not the end of the story. This was just the beginning. But it was a beginning that no one had expected. A beginning that would change everything. Humanity had been alone in the universe. Now, they were part of something bigger. They were part of a fight that would span stars and generations. They were part of a legend. And legends, as everyone knows, never truly die.